New Zealand Warriors on the board, 2 points, getting the job done over the Raiders in Christchurch. Let's take a look how this one played out. Hey team, welcome back into the Warriorholic. Man, don't you love a weekend when you win on a Friday night? I always enjoy watching other games and watching all the footy content after we've had a win. It's something I can't do very well when we've had a loss, so stoked the boys got it done for us. Pretty scrappy game again, but we fought for 80 minutes this time. I think it showed in the first couple of weeks just how good the Sharks can be on their day. We saw they weren't particularly good last night. And similarly with the Storm. Those guys were good enough. They had the individual X factor to get it done against us, whereas I think the Raiders just kind of struggled in that aspect. We're able to hold them off. First, I've got to say, that reffing was pretty bloody average. But for once, they got the shit calls wrong on both sides with about 50-50 balance, I think. Some really odd calls there from both the bunker and the on-field refs. So, I could see the frustration from the Raiders, thinking that they're the ones who get the shit calls all the time. But I think we both benefited and both got hurt by that. So reffing really needs to be a little bit more consistent there. On the Raiders, first and foremost, I always underestimate them. I watched their first couple of games and didn't think they were that good. They didn't really have the attack there, but they just seem to step up when they play us. It's always a tight, hard-fought game. So all props to them, coming with the right attitude, fighting till the end. Disappointing for their fans, but hey, 2 and 3 is not a bad start for them. I thought young Strange, man, he's a fine. I feel like he's added a bit of spark and X factor they didn't have even with Jack White in there. He's a big boy, 1.90 tall. He's really quick and agile, really, really good. I think Raiders fans will be excited to see him develop. I thought Fogarty played with a great, sort of amount of control, particularly with his kicking game again. That strategy to put the ball right on the bloody sideline there, down on our left-hand side there. Tane, having to take it and then fall over the sideline at one point there, it was so pinpoint. So well done to him. I thought their forwards stood up as always. Their 4 props, just such a handful. Even though I think we did a pretty good job to control their offloads, they still got about 6 or 8 or something away. But we tied them up well. I thought, if we could win that battle in the middle, we could win the game, and I think we got a slight edge there. So well done. I thought Smithies and Hosking were really a solid handful again, young as well. Got a really good quality pack there. And then you've got out in the back, so I think that's just where they're struggling a little bit. Rapana's a very serviceable guy. He's really annoying, niggly, tough to tackle. But put a guy like, I don't know, Reece Walsh or Tedesco or someone like that at the back there, a genuine world-class fullback. I think that would unlock them as well. I think Timoko had a good night, but we handled him relatively well. That try he got just shows how much strength he's got. We saw on a number of occasions on Friday night that Montoya was able to palm people off, bust tackles, whereas he just got palmed off by Timoko right on the line there, RTS missing the tackle. So well done to them. I think they played, like I said, bloody well. And I'm sure Sticky will be all pissed off. I didn't see his post-match, but I'm sure he had a grumble as usual. But all props to our boys. We finally got it done. So let's take a look at some of the quick team stats here before we get into the individuals for the Warriors. Possession, 48-52. That probably reflected the game. We were able to do just a little bit more with ours than they were. Completion for us, only 79 versus 80 for them. I think we've got to get up closer to that 90 mark if we really want to solidify ourselves in the, in the 8 or the 4 later on in the season. And that's probably reflected there for the first time this season, including the trials. I think we went up over 10 errors there with 13. It's just too much ball to hand over. And, we're just lucky that the Raiders struggled to really capitalise on it. Just the 6 errors for them, so that's some quality ball. Penalties, just the 4 conceded there, and 1 ruck infringement. That's a bit of an improvement. I'm not too unhappy with that. Then taking a look at the attack here, this is an interesting one for me. 198 runs versus 202, but we got 1,744 metres out of ours. 1,624 for them, but they got slightly more post-contact metres. Line breaks 6 versus 4, so it's good to see we are creating those line breaks there. A couple of times we could have linked up and converted those to tries. Average distance per set, 40.57 versus 38, not a huge difference there. Tackling efficiency up over 90%, I'm really happy with that. 30 missed tackles, One good part about that is we do manage to scramble pretty well and cover the misses when they do occur. Let's take a quick look at the kicking here. What have we got? 25 versus 26 kicks, 726 meters versus 780. So very similar there. Both SJ and Fogarty really good with their long kicking games. So putting those kicks up all night to Rapana, obviously seen as their most threatening runner when they're hitting the ball off their line. So tackling him as soon as he gets it takes him out of that first 1 or 2 hit-ups there. I like it in a certain way because it puts the opposition on the back foot. We're able to defend that and hold them down in their line and really tie their forwards out. But I think we could be a little bit more unpredictable, perhaps going wider on a third or fourth play if that's the kicking strategy we want, because we want to create more attacking opportunities. But not too bad. I thought Fogarty did kick really, really well. His bombs, we did pretty well to defend. What do we get there? 83% defusal, just the 75 for them. And finally, like as I said, 6 offloads for them. I felt like it was a genuine strategy from us to not to offload. I saw a couple of times there AFB had the opportunity to, but he just didn't. So I'm not quite sure why we've gone back to that really structured, rigid kind of play without the ad-lib. Who knows? I'm sure Webby's got a clear strategy for that. So to sort of summarise the whole team versus team thing, I think 18-10 was a fair reflection on the game. I felt like the couple of tries that the Raiders got, one of them was well structured, but it was sort of basically let through because Montoya came flying in and jammed, gave them a free run in there, and the other one there from Timika was just pure power. So I still think they're going to struggle to create enough tries to be a genuine top sort of 6 contender this year. They'll definitely be niggly, and I'd say they'll probably make the bottom of the 8 just purely on their consistency and their defense. From us, I'll get onto it a little bit when I go through the individuals here, but I just think that we're struggling, or we struggled again on Friday night to unlock our shape. I felt like we got a little bit scraggly here and a little bit too predictable. That kicking strategy is obviously something to tie them out, as I said, but against a better quality team who can put on more points, who would have capitalised on 13 errors, we've got to score more points ourselves. So I think, a little bit to work on from the boys, still a little bit clunky. I think I've identified a couple of issues there that I'll share as I go through the individual people. Rightio, getting on to young Tane here. Man, what a shame he got that head knock and had to go off. A friend of a friend who I was chatting to on Insta apparently went up and congratulated Tane on a good game after that, and he basically looked really solemn and said, oh, well, anyway, it's over for me. CNK's back next week. So a little bit of insider hint there. Whether it's true or not, I'm not sure. So just playing the 46 minutes, thanks to that head knock running face first into Rapana there. So many head-to-head clashes over the weekend. We saw Fanuku end up succumbing to 2 of them. We saw Walsh get his face messed up. It's funny how things like that often happen in trends. But while he was out there, I thought he was extremely solid there. 14 runs for 122 metres in half a game. 29 post-contact metres. 100% tackling again. 5 tackle breaks. 1 error. 2 handling errors. Look, I think he's very, very solid. He didn't drop any balls there. He's really good under the high ball considering how small he is. He's very hardy. But this is one of the things I noticed with our shape on the right particularly, why it wasn't quite going so smoothly. He was standing back a little bit more deep than last week, and you'd normally see from CNK, and he gets very lateral. So what it was doing is basically sort of ruining the impact of our decoy runners. They were running nice and straight. Because Tuaupiki got so lateral, Rocco was getting it running sideways, and they ran Dallin out of space. A couple of times there, Rocco ended up going by himself, or Dallin, if he got it. We saw the one we had to cut back in and come across it. It eventuated into a try for Metcalf, but still, I think that's something we really have to work on. We did get really lateral again there on the right-hand side. So if CNK's back next week like they predict, and he's fully fit, look for that right edge to be a lot more straight, a lot more direct, and I think our whole runners are going to be much more effective. So unlucky for Tane. Chances are he won't get another shot for a while. I hope he keeps his head up. I hope he keeps grinding out there in Cup. They definitely need him after getting their asses kicked in the weekend. So he's definitely proved that he's a serviceable replacement there. In fact, I think in a lot of ways he's more secure than RTS under the high ball and his defence. So I gave him a 7.5. I don't think I could have given him much more because of the limited minutes, but 122 metres in such a short amount of time, I think he really held his head up. Then we get to Dallin Watene-Zelezniak. He played the 80 minutes, 17 runs for 178 metres, 71 post-contact metres, 8 tackles at 100%. It's good to see Dallin's really improved his defence here, but I think that's a lot to do with relying on Rocco. One line break, one try assist, one error, one handling error, and a penalty. I gave him 8.5 because his efforts with the ball in hand, hitting that ball off our line this year, have just been outstanding. I used to really worry with his sort of loose carries, he'd get a lot because he'd run into collisions so straight on. But this year he's had much better hands. A couple of those breaks that he got just really got that momentum going. You can see he's a definite mood maker in the team. So I think, a couple of errors there, but there's not much more I could have expected from him on the weekend. So I gave him an 8.5. Keep up the energy, brother. Rocco Berry. I put out over my various social media platforms asking who people's man of the match was, and I've got to say 30% of people said Rocco Berry. I'm getting so many DMs and comments with people finally starting to recognise just how good Rocco is. A little bit down on the metres this week, only the 8 runs for 73 metres. I think sometimes that's just a reflection of the way the game goes. A lot of other centres, really good centres, are still around the 70-metre mark, but I would like to see him get a little bit more involved and get back over 100. 21 tackles, 83% tackle efficiency there, 2 tackle breaks. Gave away that one penalty, which I think was very borderline there for being inside the 10. I gave him an 8.5 because at the moment I think he's exceeding most people's expectations. I don't think there's a heck of a lot more you could ask from him. Every week I say it, his ability on defence, not just when he's tackling his own guy, but when he turns and scrambles, when he does his kick chase, he's often involved in the first initial contact, and then he'll make 1 to 2 tackles there out of dummy half before he jumps back to the wing. So he just adds so much there that takes a lot of pressure off our middles, gives them a chance to get a bit of a breath after a kick chase. So well done, Rocco. Another solid game. Then at left centre, RTS playing 80 minutes, 71 post-contact metres, 21 tackles, about twice as many as normal this week for 87%, which was really good to see. 5 tackle breaks, 1 line break, a try, 1 error, 1 handling error. I've only given him 8 just because the expectation is so high. And like I've said with this points thing, mate, I'm no scientist, I'm no data expert. I just give these guys the individual score based on what I think a 100% effort for them at their current level of ability goes. I still think we've got at least 20% growth left in RTS. With him, so with our left-hand attack, I had a really good look at this on the replay that I just watched this morning. One thing I've noticed is if you watch SJ when he hits Rocco, he hits him very flat. Rocco's full speed. And that way, if he's used as a punch runner, he's getting the momentum. Whereas with RTS, he's quite a way back from Metcalf. And Metcalf drifts a little bit, gives him very little momentum and a very little room to sort of to get any kind of step going. As a result, it just seems a little bit clunky. So if Metcalf could straighten up a little bit, hit RTS a little bit flatter, I think he'll get a lot more momentum, and we'll even see more than the 200 metres there. And I still feel like both Metcalf and RTS are struggling to link well enough to really sort of put Montoya in some kind of space as well. Works a little bit better when SJ drifts to the left-hand side there, but I guess it's just one of those things that it will take time and combinations because, we've only had one off-season of those two guys together. Can only get better. I did enjoy him at fullback. He gets more space to run. That try he scored was very RTS-esque. Beating guys, accelerating, still managing to power over in contact there against Hopoate. So it gives me great hope that he's still got a lot of potential, but we just have to figure out how to use him effectively at centre there because if CNK comes back, I think he's not going to be playing too much fullback over the coming weeks. So let's keep going, RTS. I want to see you that Dally M Centre of the Year by the end of the season. Marcelo Montoya, 80 minutes, 19 runs, 158 metres, 52 post-contact. So that's a little bit up from last week. I think he's down around 120, 130. 5 tackles at 83%. Bro, you got to stop jamming in. I know you got one of them where you got a hand to it where you stop the try, but the one that allowed Kotrick to score, there was no need to come in. If they'd just stayed man for man, they would have covered him easy. So I think it's just getting that habit out of his mind, trusting the man inside him. One tackle break, one line break, and 2 errors. Like, I think he's playing bloody solid. The meters are probably a reflection that he generally takes the first hit up after a kick. So he's the one running into the props. Dallin often comes after him, so he's on the back, a little bit of momentum there. All in all, I think he's doing really well. I remember a couple of weeks back, people talking we should drop him and bring Ali in, but I just watching that cup game yesterday, those boys really struggled. I don't think there's anyone really jumping up and putting their hand up to take his spot. I thought Setu too played really well in a losing team, but I don't think you drop Montoya for Setu at the moment. So I hope he continues to play well. Just stop that jamming in at the wrong times, brother. Not really keen on that one. Luke Metcalf, 80 minutes for him, 8 runs, 83 metres, which is good to see. Just the 3 kicks for 64 metres, 16 tackles at 78%. He's making a lot of big tackles there. He's really manning up, got a lot more confrontation with his defence this year with that extra little bit of size. 1 tackle break, 1 line break, 1 try, 1 error, 1 handling error. That try, the line he ran off RTS, the vision to be in that right spot, to hold back and to hit that ball in a completely ad-lib play so well, just shows that he's got the vision, he's got the insight. Just got to get him to start playing a little bit more direct rather than drifting across there. Again, finding ways to get him in places to use that speed a bit more. So a couple of times he went himself as the one-off runner, but quite wide of the ruck. I'd like to see him get really, really close and literally take the ball off the hooker's shoulder there against tired forwards, whereas by taking a little bit wider there, he tends to hit like a prop and an edge back rower who are just really set there for him. So I want to see the timing of those runs a little bit better, get him sniping, use that speed, and I think we'll see him getting a lot more line breaks. Just a 7.5 out of 10, which is still a good score for me, but I just think there's a lot more upside left in Luke. So, very, very serviceable. Definitely a pass mark, but I think he's got another 20 to 30% left in him. Can't wait till that starts happening. SJ, 80 minutes from him, 10 runs, 45 metres, 22 kicks for 662 metres, 25 tackles, 78% is a little bit lower down there, but still very serviceable, taking all those big forwards. 1 tackle break, 2 line break assists, 1 try assist and a penalty. Something's not quite right there. Him not kicking makes me feel like he's got some kind of injury. Wasn't quite engaging the line as much, passing a little bit earlier. I gave him a 7.5. And it's funny, he just hasn't clearly stood out as man of the match every week. Like, most weeks last year, he was getting most of the comments for man of the match, where he's a little bit quieter at the moment. And I think that slight difference there of him playing well and him playing at his best is potentially one of the reasons we're not quite excelling as much as we were at the similar times last year. But still, geez, very, very serviceable, very, very solid. Just curious to know what that injury is or what's hindering him there, not being able to kick the goals and so forth. We need him to just lift that extra sort of 10 to 15%. Then he'll definitely light us all up. But again, a very, very quality effort from the big fella. And on to the forwards. Adam Fonua-Blake, 48 minutes. Man, he was up around the sort of 60, 70 minutes every week. I'm not sure why they're only playing him sort of around the 40, 50 minute mark here. Last year he was up around the 60 to 70 minute. Maybe it's just trying to, it's great that he can play big minutes, but we saw fatigue start to kick in about a third of the way through the season last year. So maybe just looking at longevity throughout the season, if we can continue to get the wins with him playing 50 minutes, that's got to mean he's going to have more energy towards the back half. 15 runs for 159 metres, 54 post-contact metres there, 27 tackles at 93%, 1 tackle break, 1 line break and the try. Mate, I love that SJ is able to put him over so easily. That one, you see him, he sort of stopped and looked and he thought, man, is this actually going to be a try? It was too easy. And then someone sort of had to point to him to go around a bit further under the post. So we've definitely got that play worked really well. 128 kgs coming at you. Oh, but on that line break, Xavier Savage, able to grab him and pull him down from behind. That's a massive effort from a winger. Who's given away probably 30 odd kgs. So he came bloody close to a couple there. Overall, I thought he played really well. I felt he played a little bit within himself. As I said, he wasn't throwing those offloads when he probably could have, but I'm assuming that was some kind of directive from Webby. A very serviceable effort. I'm giving him 8 out of 10. Definitely wasn't his best game. When AFB has a 10 out of 10. Can't remember the game I gave him 10 for last year, but I think he ran for something like 280 meters. So there's still a little bit left in the tank there, and hopefully we see that start to come to fruition. Probably around round 7, 8, coming up against tired middles and oppositions who've played much bigger minutes. We shall see. Keep up the hard work, brother. Freddie Lussick, 68 minutes there, just the 3 runs for 6 meters, and I thought that was maybe a mistake in the stats, and someone called me out on it when I posted the player stats on Insta, and I questioned myself, but I went back and I checked the stats still the same this morning. And watching the game again this morning, he didn't run. And when he did run, he got tackled really easily. So 3 runs for 6 meters, 39 tackles though, 89%. Man, he makes some big tackles there. 1 handling error, 1 error. I thought he was very consistent again. Like last week, he was able to get the passes much more flat. He wasn't passing too far behind. Serviceable. I felt like, I'll touch on him a little bit at the moment though, when C&K came on, other than that one pass that hit Bunty when he was actually in the way, wasn't meant to be the runner getting the ball, I thought C&K's distribution from halfback was a lot crisper, a lot quicker, but I'm not going to bag Freddie. He's still young. We know that he's got a lot of the good fundamentals there and he's only going to get better. So Webby obviously trusts him. I think he's still got more in him, hence only gave him the 7. But very serviceable effort from the big fella. 62 minutes for Mitch Barnett. A bunch of those over on the left-hand edge there after Capewell went to right centre. 15 runs, 150 metres, 59 post contact, 33 tackles at 89%, 1 tackle break. Look, I gave him an 8.5. Initially, I'd given him a 9, but I brought it back to 8.5. For me, he just stood out that second half, his work rate. Even though not necessarily reflected in the stats, I just thought he was huge. I really think he's taken a massive leadership role in this team. I think he's putting them on his back a lot. The way he played when AFB was off the field, really doing me proud. It was good to see how well he played on the edge, actually. I was kind of wondering, is he capable of going back over there? Now he's sort of thickened up a bit to play prop. Showed that he's very solid out there as well. So great to see that on-field leadership from him. A few rumours that he might want to try and leave early to go back home, and that he won't renew his contract at the end of next season, which is real sad if it is the case, because I think he's becoming a real cornerstone of our pack. If we if we ended up losing both him and AFB within a 12-month period, that's serious going to hit our overall potential there. Jackson Ford, another massively solid game here from him. 80 minutes, 17 runs, 164 metres. I think he was about the third most metres out of the Fords there. 59 post-contact metres, 40 tackles at 89% there, second only to Tohu. 1 line break, 1 error, 1 handling error and a penalty. The penalty, he lost his balance here, but Christ, I saw that probably 20 times over the weekend so far. It's such a weird call, so I don't blame him too much for that. One thing I'll say about him is he hits the ball very straight or at a slight reverse angle. Him and SJ have got that partnership humming, whereas I don't feel Metcalf and Capewell have quite got that same dynamic going. We saw Capewell cop a ball actually from SJ in the side there because he slightly overran it. So I think we've got to give Jackson a lot more credit than people realise for his timing of his runs and hitting that ball flat and hard and managing to keep control of it now after that those initial mistakes. So I gave him 8 out of 10. I don't think there's much more you could expect him. He does his job so well, and he just still goes so hard even at the 80-minute mark. So a lot of people sort of talk, I drop him for Laban and the like. I said, the way I see it is he's not going to drop out. you don't have to worry about an interchange with him. I don't think Laban would come on and play the 80 minutes he does. If Laban does come into the side, I'd say it's on a bench or on the other edge there, and maybe bring Capewell off the bench. But Jackson's your 80-minute man going forward. Onto the right edge here, we've got Kurt Capewell playing 80 minutes, 8 runs, 65 metres, which is way down on what he was doing previously. But again, moving to the centre there for just under half a game. 32 post-contact metres, which is good to see. Over half of his, or around half of his metres post-contact. 35 tackles, 92%. 1 line break assist, 1 error, 1 handling error. Showed he's very serviceable to go onto that centre position there. Sort of, you could argue he was a little bit slow or flat-footed there, which caused Montoya to jam in and allow Kotrick to score. I don't know, but I thought he was very serviceable. So it's good to know both him and Marata are more than capable of going out into the centres there when needed it. Also, we're normally having Dylan Walker covering there. Again, I think after that Sharks game, we probably expected a bit more than him, and I guess it's just a timing thing and combinations. Just not quite getting his running lines right, the timing right. Just a little bit clunky, but you can see once he does get a little bit of space to wind up, he's got a great step and a swerve that he will often beat the first defender. So still expecting him to continue to grow there, improve his defense and his combinations out there on his side. Just a 7 for me. Still reckon he's got 30% improvement. Tohu Harris, 80 minutes, 17 runs, 130 metres, 33 post-contact, 50 tackles at 96%, man. Perpetual motion. The guy never stops for his age. That motor. 1 try assist, 1 handling, 1 error, 1 handling error, 1 penalty. 8.5, I think. I gave him a 10 last year once or twice. Look, that defense was absolutely outstanding, but I just feel he still hasn't quite hit the highs of when he was playing at his best last season. So hence an 8.5, not a 9 or a 9.5 there, even with a massive effort on defense and even playing the 80 minutes. Just combinations, I think, with the guys around him, having guys like Capewell coming in and so forth, getting that combination right with Metcalf, when the ball comes through his hands and so forth. So outstanding effort, but still got room to move there, so hence the 8.5. Jazz Tavanga off the bench here. I'm pretty biased. You'll know that he's my favourite Warrior of all time, but shit, can't deny the impact. 34 minutes, 10 runs, 101 metres, 49 post-contact, 27 tackles at 96%, 2 tackle breaks, and just the 1 error. That energy that he brought, the forward momentum, the number of tackles he's involved in, where he's the third guy in tying up the legs, then getting back into the line to make the next one, not even staying there at marker or second marker. You can just see he's like running himself ragged out there. It's got to lift the energy of the guys around him. The post-contact meters definitely way above what we're seeing from Bunty. So for me, he's got to be on the bench next week for either Ale or Bunty. I'm not sure which, but I'd love to see that 1-2 punch again with him and Dylan Walker back there. Outstanding effort, 8.5. I don't think we could have asked for much more out of him this week. Bunty, I thought, a complete contrast to Jazz. 26 minutes there, so just 5 less minutes, but only 3 runs for 25 metres and 6 post-contact. Same amount of tackles though, 27 at the same tackle efficiency, 96%, 1 ruck infringement. I love the brother. Can't deny his impact on defense here, coming up with a couple of big tackles there to stop breaks, but running not good enough, Mo. 3 runs in 26 minutes for a first grade prop. Next week, if Dylan Walker comes back, I think he's got to drop out and you've got to start Jazz. Just not sure why. Not sure why it happens. If he stayed, I'd be astonished. And I'd really love someone to ask Webby what the logic would be that you drop Jazz out with the difference in work rate there. Just 6.5 out of it for me. I mean, maybe some people would have given him less, but just his effort on defense, I think that's, enough to give him a 6.5. I don't want to get too harsh. Tomar there. Contrasting here, 24 minutes, 8 runs, 77 metres, 19 post-contact. So, 3 times the amount of metres in the same minutes there. Just the 17 tackles at 94%. 2 tackle breaks and 1 line break gave him a 7.5. Just you're seeing the dynamic running there, the step, the timing to get that break, the speed. He has that deceptiveness at the line that just helps him beat that first defender, or at least get on the inside shoulder there and get that momentum going. Not as big as Bunty, but you saw his setups off the kickoffs, more than capable. I hate to sound like a cock, but I'm dropping Bunty and I'm keeping him and Jazz in there until Marata's back. I think he's more than serviceable, could probably play bigger minutes, but how do you play bigger minutes without taking Barnett or AFB off? I'm really happy with his contribution. Then finally, CHT, only getting the 12 minutes again. I think that's a strategy by Webby to ease him in there. 12 tackles at 92%, and a lot of those were really big hits. Man, he hits it so hard for a guy his size. 2 errors and 2 handling errors. The one that stands out is the pass that copped Bunty on the shoulder. Live, I thought he just it cocked it up and thrown it really high or something. But when I went and back watched the replay, you could clearly see the play was to Jazz. What I really liked about CHT when he gets into dummy half is he's got a great flat, crisp pass that goes straight across the front of the lead runner and hits the second runner. Very direct. It gives great deception because the first runner looks like they're getting the ball because it's so flat. And allows the second runner to make those extra couple of meters. But that one Bunty just literally got in the way, hit him in the arm. It made CHT look like a cock, but I think you could just see his frustration and him and Jazz looking at each other as if to say, what the heck was Bunty doing there? So I'm not going to put all those errors down on him. As I said, I touched on a little bit there. If you're starting, I think they're still going to go for Lussick, but when Egan comes back, my best case bench at the moment is looking like Dylan Walker, Jazz, Marata Niokore, and Chanel. Chanel is just as serviceable off the bench as Lussick, but he covers so many positions. He brings on an energy. Lussick's, if you have to start someone, they're probably going to go for him for a while until CHT proves otherwise. But that would be my bench. You've got the energy, the speed of Dylan Walker, Jazz, and Marata's just blockbusting runs against a tired defense, and then the energy of CHT. I think that's what I'd like to see at some point if we ever get to see our best team out there. I don't think we saw it once last year. So overall for a team, I think I'm going to give them about a 7.5 purely on the fact they played out the 80 minutes, and that's what I've always asked for. I had a bit of a laugh with Martin Devlin about this one on the radio that, look, I want them to win every week, but you can't win every week. But never once since Webby's been at the club could I accuse the boys of not playing with heart. Every week they fight with everything they've got to the last minute, even in losses. And on the weekend there, it was probably more scrappy than we saw in the game against the Storm. But this time they got it done because the opposition didn't have that same level of X factor. So I'm happy. 2 points on a Friday night kicks the weekend off so perfectly. I can sit back and watch other games and enjoy them and listen to the commentary. When we lose, I don't want to know about watching any other content over the weekend, hearing about other people's teams doing well. So I'm really happy from that aspect. Big game up against the Knights. See how they go today. If they're a little bit clunky and we're on, I think there's no reason we shouldn't be able to beat them away there. But 30,000 rabid Knights fans are going to be a real challenge for us. Can we step it up? By all accounts, CNK might be back. Dylan Walker should be back as well. Wade Egan, hopefully with that extra week, he'll be back there. That'll get things running a lot more smoothly. Look forward to seeing how it comes up on Team Naming Tuesday. Up the Mighty Wars. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Who went well? Who was your man of the match? Who frustrated you? Thanks for watching. Up the Mighty Wars. Let's go.